Hello, hello. Welcome back to No Me Callo. I won't stay quiet. I'm your host, Erika L, and today I want to take you into a truth that has followed me, haunted me, and eventually shaped me. A truth that I know so many of us who are first generation, bicultural, children of immigrants know too well. Today we're talking about those words that cut deep. Este no es tu lugar. This is not your place. I want you to think back for a moment though. Maybe it was in a classroom, in your job, maybe sitting across from a family member. That moment when you showed up with your whole self, your roots, your accent, your dreams, your way of being, and someone, whether they said it out loud or not, made it clear that you don't belong there. And let me warn you, esta plática, this episode is going to be real, and it might even bring up memories you've buried. But that's exactly why we're here, because no me callo, I won't stay quiet, means we refuse to keep these truths in silence. So you already know, get comfortable, grab your coffee, your cafecito, your glass of wine, or your cold beer, and get ready to chismear with me. Right, I know I just asked you to think about a time you felt that way. To really go there, was it when you were younger? Or maybe as an adult? Was it at work? In a relationship? Maybe even within your own family? But I want you to really close your eyes, take a second, and think about how did it make you feel to answer that question? Was it uncomfortable? Was it heavy? Was it painful? Because I know those moments don't just disappear. They don't just pass. The truth is, they live inside us, in our bodies, in our bones, in the pit of our stomachs. And well, even years later, when we remember, we might still feel that pain. And for me, I felt it early. I was just a little girl. From my name, Erika L, a name full of history, a last name with an accent, a name that carried my roots. But in classrooms, it became something else. Because teachers were shortened it, they would twist it. It felt like they would make my last name smaller, just so I would fit neatly into their mouths. And my classmates, well, you know, if you've been listening to the previous episodes, they laughed at the food I would bring for lunch. From the tortillas to the frijoles, the smells that reminded me of my home, of my culture, of my family. They would laugh at it. They would also laugh at the way my parents spoke when they tried their best English in the hallways. They would laugh at the traditions that made us who we were, as if love, culture, and pride could ever be a joke. And slowly, I really started to learn something I should have never had to learn. That belonging came with rules. Rules that I did not write. Rules that I couldn't win. Rules designed by others to keep people like me on the outside. And every time it happened, whether it was in a word, in a laugh, even in a look that lingered too long, it planted something inside me. And no, it was not confidence, it was not pride, but it was doubt. And that doubt whispered in my ear so many times, Jessica, you don't belong here. Jessica, you're not enough. Jessica, this is not your place. But let me fast forward with you, because the truth in those words, este no es tu lugar, this is not your place, didn't just follow me as a child. They followed me into my adulthood, especially when I pursued my career. So as many of you know, I'm a licensed social worker and I work for a nonprofit. And at 22, I walked into my first nonprofit job, brimming with excitement and passion. I believed in my purpose and my voice. I believed I could make a difference. So I poured every ounce of myself into everything that I was doing, with every task, every meeting, every phone call. I showed up with ideas, with heart, with hope. So 6 months later, I got promoted to associate director. And then I got promoted a second time, but this time I became a director. And you would think there would be smiles, congratulations, maybe even some pride in what I had accomplished. But instead, there were whispers. And there was always those eyes that measured me, that scanned me from like head to toe, judging everything about me. Doubts hanging in the air like thick, stormy clouds, I would say, ready to break at any moment. People would say comments like, she only got this because she kissed ass. She doesn't really know what she's doing. Or what is she going to teach me? She's so young. She hasn't lived enough life. You hear that? It wasn't just about my work. It wasn't just about my age. It was literally about my very existence in that position. And what they were really saying was, Este no es tu lugar. This is not your place. So every mistake feels like a confirmation of their doubts, and every success feels like it was just going to be picked apart. And with every word they said, I felt like I could feel these invisible hands pressing down on my chest, trying to squeeze the air out of me. So you carry that unspoken rule of no, you don't get to just do your job. You have to prove over and over and over again that you deserve to even sit at the table. And when you do rise, when you do shine, people don't say congratulations. No, they say, who does she think she is? So every time I walked into that meeting, I felt the room shift. The warmth of colleagues I once trusted turned cold. People who once laughed with me now watched me silently waiting, kind of like doubting me. And every success I achieved was not celebrated, but instead it was either questioned or undermined. And I could see it in the eyes. They lingered a little too long, in their slight exhale before a comment, in the smiles that did not reach their eyes. And yet, every single day, I showed up anyway. I showed up even when my stomach hurt from anxiety, even when my heart was so heavy from exhaustion, even when the whispers followed me into the bathroom and into my quiet moments at home. And I showed up because I knew I carried more than just my own dreams. I was carrying the dreams, the sweat, the sacrifices of my parents, and every ache in their bodies, every long night, every early morning, they had worked for me to be here, and I could not let that fire die. So my leadership was not built on arrogance. It was built on survival, on grit, on courage that has been passed down to me before I even understood it. Every promotion, every meeting, and every challenge I faced, I fought for it. I earned it, I owned it. And even when I felt small, even when I felt like the room was trying to crush me, I remembered I was standing not just for me, but for every person who has been told, this is not your place. And in that moment is when I realized something powerful. Showing up even when the world whispers no, even when the doubt hangs over like a storm cloud, even when every glance seems to say you're not enough, that is revolution. That is power, and that is courage. And you know what's crazy? If I had been an older man, nobody would have questioned it. If I had been white, they would have called me a rising star. But as a young Latina, excuse my language, shit, I was too much. Too ambitious, too loud, too confident. People didn't want me to stand out, to make waves, to make it about me. Or on the other hand, I was not enough. Not enough experience, not enough years, not enough age to tell them anything. So it is a double-edged sword, we know too well. And a lot of us feel it in leadership, the constant proving, the constant defending, the constant battle just to exist in spaces that should have celebrated us. But no, that's not what happens. But you know, what they didn't see was the years of sacrifice. They didn't see the obstacles I had already overcome just to stand in that office, starting from my childhood. They didn't see the long nights, the tears, the weight of being first generation and navigating spaces no one prepared us for. They didn't see the times I had to swallow doubt, swallow fear, and still showed up over and over again. And frankly, they didn't understand that my leadership is not built on arrogance. It's built on survival. It's built on grit. It's built on the prayers of my parents and the dreams of every little girl who looks like me. On the unshakable foundation of my parents who sacrificed everything so I could stand here. And every promotion, every title, every room that I walked into was not handed to me. I fought and I put in the work for it. So when they say, Jessica, you're too young, what do you know about life? Trust me, I know about life. I know about being told I don't belong and walking in anyways. I know about carrying two cultures, two languages, two worlds on my back. I know about leading with corazón, leading with heart in a world that only respects hardness. And I know about silence, and I sure know how to break it because that's life, that's leadership, and that's wisdom. But here's the truth I've learned. Every time they told me this is not your place, it wasn't really about me. It was about them, their fear, their ignorance, their need to keep the door closed because if people like me, people like us walk in, we will change everything. And that is what scares them. And as you know, society has always tried to tell us where we belong. In the fields, picking fruit, in restaurants, washing dishes, serving food, in landscaping, as cleaning staff. And let me be clear, those jobs carry dignity. They carry the weight of sacrifice. They carry the story of our parents and grandparents. But what society doesn't expect is to see us in other spaces, in leadership, at the table, making decisions and holding power. We are creating art, podcasts, businesses, movements. We are breaking cycles of silence, of shame, of invisibility. So when they say to me, Este no es tu lugar, this is not your place, I've learned to answer, watch me, because I'm already here. My parents already pay the entrance fee with their labor, with their sweat, with their dreams. So why would I close the door on myself by saying no too soon? Nope, I'm not doing that. I'll let others say no if they want, but I won't do it for them. And as I continue to step into these spaces, I also carry this, that honoring my roots means resting, resting in ways my mom, my dad, my family never could, because rest is resistance. And for years, I believed rest was a weakness. I pushed myself to the edge, thinking I had to earn my place. And rest is reclaiming the life my parents never had. Rest is honoring their sacrifice. So I want to take a moment to pause here and speak directly to you who is listening to this episode. If you have ever been doubted, dismissed, overlooked, if you have ever been the youngest in a room, the only one of color in the room, a survivor, the only woman in the room, I see you. Your power does not need permission. Your wisdom is not measured by age or titles or what they think you should look like. Your story is your credential. Your scars are your diploma. And your presence is your revolution. You don't need a certification to tell your story. If you live through it, you're certified. And the moment you walk into a space, you don't need to ask, do I belong here? Because you are the reason that space will change. And there's a book that I highly recommend called Crying in the Bathroom by Erika Sánchez. In this book, Erika opens up about her life as a daughter of Mexican immigrants, and she shares her struggles with depression, her identity as a feminist and a writer, and what it's like to exist as a brilliant, ambitious Latina in a white male-dominated space that were never built with her in mind. So I connected to this book because it really captures that moment so many of us know. When you hold it all together in public, only to break in private. It's about the price of success when you feel like you're constantly translating your identity, code switching, and shrinking yourself to fit. So I definitely encourage you to check it out and let me know what you think about it. So today I want to reclaim those words. When I say, Este no es tu lugar, this is not your place, I'm not saying it to us. I'm saying it to sexism. I'm saying it to racism. I'm saying it to every broken system, every voice, every whisper that try to keep us small. This is not your place. This place, this leadership, this agency, this table, this future belongs to us. I want you to pause for a moment. Close your eyes if you can. Take a deep breath. And I want you to remember every single time someone made you feel like you didn't belong. Every look that cut through you. Every whisper that lingered just a little too long. Every word that made your chest tighten. Every rule you didn't write but were first to follow. Feel that weight right now. Feel it pressing down on your shoulders, sinking into your bones. Let yourself feel it fully because it's real and it shaped you. Now, I want you to feel something else. Feel your power. Feel that fire burning inside you, even when they try to snuff it out. Feel the strength in your presence, the courage in your heartbeat, the resilience in every breath you've taken just to survive, to rise, to exist. You belong. You have always belonged. Every step you take across the floor, every word you speak, and every dream you dare to chase, it is proof. Proof of your courage, proof of your strength, proof of your fire. And even when the world tells you no, even when doubt whispers in your ear, remember this. You are here. You are worthy and you are unstoppable. So to the little girl who learned early that her name was too hard to say, to the young individual who got promoted and felt more hate than celebration, to the leader who still walks into rooms and wonders if they belong. This is for all of us. We do belong. We always have, and we're not leaving. So sit with this for a moment. How many times have you been told in words, in looks, in policies, and walls that you didn't belong? And yet, here you are, breathing and thriving. Every single day you continue to show up is resistance, and every single dream you dare to dream is rebellion. And every single story you tell is power. They try to convince us that belonging was something we had to earn. But the truth is, belonging is our birthright. So the next time somebody whispers, Este no es tu lugar, this is not your place, you better stand taller and speak louder. And remember, hell yeah, this is my place. You already know, don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with someone who might need it. If this is your first episode, I invite you to go check out the others too. As well, if you are bilingual, I encourage you to listen to both English and Spanish episodes to really get the whole vibe. And remember, every Friday there's a new episode. Next week's episode is called First Gen Fire, Primera Generación de Fuego. And this episode is a continuation, a deeper dive into what it means to carry generations on our shoulders. For the sons and daughters of sacrifice, whose parents built the foundation so we could walk through the doors they were never allowed to enter. First Gen Fire is about the fire of being the first to graduate, the first to lead, the first to say yes when the world said no. I will talk about how that fire comes with weight, the pressure, the fight to belong. Because we are not here by accident, we are here by sacrifice, by love, and by fire. For every first gen warrior ever told, Este no es tu lugar, this is not your place, we now say, watch us, we are already here. Thank you for listening to No Me Callo, I Won't Stay Quiet. My name is Jessica Lomelin. Until next time.